Thank you to Hieronymus Andri for joining the coaching team. Well, I'm surrounded by boxes as we look to leave Croatia and move on to one final stint and one final adventure in this coach's head story. I've taken on board some of your comments from Tuesday evening's episode, and I've kind of had a little think about it over the last week or so, and I've decided to take a bit of a gamble, which fortunately has paid off. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 50 of the Coach's Head with me, Daniel. We are back today to bring up the half century in this save. My word, are we doing it in style? We are moving on to the fourth and final club of this second mini adventure in a Director of Football challenge. We'll have no say in transfer staffing or contracts, but at which club will we be in that situation again? When I left you on Tuesday, we had received an offer from Slavia Prague, not our first choice job, but we delayed it a couple of weeks and had to make a decision. It's fair to say the comment section was mixed between that and gambling and waiting for the other job, which was our preference. And I've had a little think over the past 6 or 7 days since I recorded that video, and I've decided that there was only one club that would want to make me carry on. Have we been offered that job though? And have we still got the option of a backup if it goes wrong? If you want to find out the answer, please do put a thumbs up on it as we go through to the must respond item. We're exactly a week after the last offer from Slavia Prague. But is it still Slavia in the scenario? Let's go and find out. No, it's not. I requested to delay the Slavia Prague job for another week. They declined that opportunity. So we gambled and went, this is what we want. I want the Sporting Lisbon job. The fact that they haven't won a title for so long. The fact that they've been a bit of a mess recently. 6th place in the league last season. 1 second place finish, but other than that, not won it since the COVID year. They have been a side that have struggled throughout this save and only once have managed to break the top two. And look at the after effects of it. They finished 6th place this year. They're going into the Conference League, which adds another little string to the bow. Because I'd quite fancy if I can get Sporting ticking, but maybe I would be able to do well in that. And the other element, of course, is that with Porto, Benfica and Sporting Lisbon, one of the things you're normally going to get in FM is exceptional youth players and that opportunity to bring through stars of the future, something we really enjoyed at Willem II, the first club in this save. However, there are problems when it comes to Sporting Lisbon in this save, because if we go and have a look at their squad, they've not been regenerating quite as well as we'd think. They've got a B team, which makes me worry that the transfer situation is going to be an issue. However, on that front, they have got an absolutely enormous squad, so perhaps there's not a problem with signing people, but certainly with moving them on, because not normally at Sporting Lisbon do you see a number of 34 and 33-year-olds just sitting out their career on massive wages, and they haven't really bought through a huge amount of others since. But there are some names we're familiar with, there are some superstars, and even players who started the game as young quality players like Kirkes and Fatawu are still in their 20s, so we're going to have a nice little blend here. We've got one player who overlaps from the head coach in John Hervenhov, who was at Bayern Munich in our final stint there. And there are some other names that will stand out to you, such as Gabriel Silva, who's an absolute superstar. We'll go and have a look at all the players and the staff and that in a minute, but I've decided that if I wanted to carry on, this was the job really, that was the one I wanted. So we're going to go and take it. The wage isn't great, the transfer budget isn't great, the wage budget isn't amazing, but we're going to go for it. Let's start the negotiations, see if we can get it up to 15 grand a week. And that 2-year contract's probably about perfect, a chance for us to rebuild. You can see from the club culture, they want to play attacking football, they want to develop players using the youth system, and they don't want to have too many older ones. So maybe it is an opportunity that we didn't think we'd have. But are we going to meet another director of football that just sells on the young talent? There's one way to find out. They have accepted 15 grand a week. We're off to Portugal, we're off to a sunny climate, and we're going to have a lovely time in Lisbon. Let's get through to our first day in the job. And today we're going to meet the staff and the players we're going to be working with as we say goodbye to Croatia and Dinamo Zagreb, and we move on to one hell of a challenge to restore Sporting Lisbon to the top of Portuguese football. Well, here we are. We take charge after a stint with Dinamo Zagreb, Copenhagen, Willem II, and 5 years in Japan prior to that at the start of the head coach. We have got to relift Sporting Lisbon from 6th place up to somewhere they've not been in this save, which is the top of the Portuguese table. Want to have a real go at the Conference League, want to have some real fun with this one. And hopefully, the director of football is going to play into our hands, because that is a name you may recognise from English football as well. We'll show you in a second. If we go through to it, the director of football for this club is Hugo Viana, formerly of Newcastle United, and he's exceptional at his job, but not the best negotiator, which does worry me in terms of either bigger wages or not getting deals over the line. Maybe lots of offers and none of them really accepted. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Assistant manager Luigi Riccio, exactly the same, and he's excellent. This is a level of staffing we've not seen before. A 4-star reputation, 4th place media prediction. Cristiano Ronaldo has the facilities named after him. We've got a 52,000 seater stadium and absolutely exceptional youth recruitment and facilities. Everything else looking fantastic. A brilliant history for the club, but not a brilliant modern era. A secure financial status, but a small transfer budget. I think the director of football might have to sell before he can sign, but based on us having about 40 players in the squad, maybe we'll end up with a Chelsea-style challenge. I don't know. Let's see the formation recommended. 4-2-3-1 they're talking about there. We'll see if that's the best in a moment. There's a free agent coming in. Oh, it's 2033, not 35. Viana's got 3 years on his contract. That's my mistake of the day. Let's move on to the next screen where we see all of the club vision laid out. They want to qualify for the Champions League. No mention of even winning a title, but they'd like to win a domestic cup in the next 2 seasons. We know that they've got an experienced squad, but they don't really want to have over 33s in the future. So we're going to focus on attacking football and youth development and try and entertain in our final stint. If we get sacked, so be it. The supporters want to get into the Europa League this year, be competitive against Benfica and against Porto, and they want to play attacking football with youth players too. So hopefully there'll be at least one gem in the academy. Let's go and get through to our first day in the job. I mean, we've got a pretty good history in recent years, haven't we? I'm kind of hoping this job will be a bit more like the Willem 2 one, where we're able to bring through young players and fight against a couple of top teams. Tactical direction will work out once we've met the squad and the players. But let's start with the boring bit, the staffing, because for me, that's always the most important. Our director of football, Hugo Viana, is going to be important for us. He's going to decide who comes in and out, who stays, who goes. But he's also going to be in charge of which staff come in, and there are a lot of vacancies at the minute. I don't think... No, there's a technical director, so Hugo won't be doing all of that. Vasco Fernandez, he's pretty good. 14s across the board, solid enough. He's in charge of the staffing. Under 19 and 23s managers are both decent, although the under 23 manager not great working with youngsters, which is a bit odd. We haven't looked at the head of youth development either, which is arguably the most important role based on what we're going to be doing here. He's fantastic. What are your personality like? Fairly professional. We'll take it. He has only got 1 year left on his contract, but he better bring for a good youth intake before he goes. We've got set piece coaches and senior coaches who look to be relatively good at their job, actually. This is certainly a step up in class for us. And if you look at the career, probably is the biggest club we've managed. The fitness coach isn't great. There's no goalkeeping coach. So could definitely do with a few more additions on that front. But the ones that are there are pretty good. Let's have a look at the scouting team because they're going to be important as well. Flavio Costa's exceptional. We've got a French scout who's good. The rest are all Portuguese, but they all seem to be rated pretty nicely. And that means we should get a pretty decent set of players coming up for signing. So fairly happy with that. Maybe need a few more coaches, but the director of football and technical director, they can sort that stuff out. We'll sort all the responsibilities in a minute. But first, let's go through to the development centre. We're going to start by having a look at the young players at the club that might be stars for the future, or even the immediate if I have my way. And then we'll have a look at that bloated first team squad and work out what on earth we're going to do with it and what formation we're going to play. Let's move to the youth team. Well, if we have a look at the first team candidates, there's perhaps not the array of stars I expected to see for the future, but there are 2 players who have got massive potential. One is a goalkeeper at 17 years of age in Jose Miguel Goyas. He is 2-star ability, 5-star potential. He's pretty good. He is only 6 foot on a dot. He's not got the biggest jumping reach. He's also bizarrely got a bit of a weakness when it comes to rushing out and dealing with one-on-one situations, but overall not the worst in the world. And then the other 17-year-old is a winger, Salvador Salemo Garçao. He is again 2-star with 5-star potential, and he has got all the right attributes in the right places. The key ones are all 14s and 15s already. You've got your crossing, your dribbling, your touch, your technique. The pace is there, the agility is there, the composure, the determination, the flair and the off-the-ball movement. That is a kid I want to get in the first team. Could we have our very own little Cristiano Ronaldo coming through? Maybe not with that finishing ability, I'm not so sure. Let's go and just look at the rest of the youth teams in case, and we'll have a look at the B team as well. There's not much potential in the under-19s at the minute. The 23s, I presume, is where some of the youngsters are. No, they're in the B team, because here, we've got two more. We've got a 15-year-old. Why the 15-year-olds in the 23s? This doesn't make sense. Samuel Neto is a 15-year-old left-back. 1.5-star ability, 5-star potential. He is not quite ready to be first team level yet, but he's got potential. Just needs a bit more on the personality front, the mentality. And needs to grow a little bit too. He's still only 5'6", but, you know, he's a school kid. Martin Zenya is another goalkeeper of 15 years of age. He is, 5 for reflexes. I don't think I've seen one that weak before. That is a very odd balance of attributes. His positioning's horrendous as well. Definitely prioritising the other keeper over him. A couple of other 15-year-olds. We've got Fernando Costa, not great yet. Caravella's 16, not good enough. And Ricardo Camelo, yeah, they're not quite at the same level just yet. So we'll stick with the two we've met already. But I presume are in this B team. They are. There's one other young star in there. 1.5-star ability, 4.5 potential. Volta Camos. He's not bad, not got the best composure in the world, not got great other attributes, but just as a finisher and a striker that runs in behind, he's decent. Maybe doesn't anticipate well enough, but for the future, might well make it. There is also a striker out on loan down here, who's 2.5-star ability, Sigunda Nikolasen. Presume he's Icelandic, he is. He's not bad, maybe not the quickest, but a bit of an old school fox in the box there. So a couple of players from the youth team that may well be worth promoting. I definitely want to try and get that right winger into the squad. And the goalkeeper, if he can be a second or a third choice, maybe helps him in the short term. For now, though, what's the difference between the B team and Sporting CPB? Nothing, incidentally. Let's go through to the senior squad, meet this big team we're going to be working with. Let's get the assistants' recommendations up, see what they're like. And hopefully, we've got a few stars in here. We'll put them in position order too. We'll work out who's the best. We've got 3 goalkeepers in the squad. The first choice is a Turkish 30-year-old, Dogan Alemdar. He is solid across the board, nothing spectacular, but a very decent goalkeeper. I've got no complaints about him. If we can get an upgrade, magnificent. If not, happy with him first choice. Next up is a 23-year-old, 2.5-star Portuguese keeper, Fernando Camara. He is from the academy. He's pretty good. Composure's a bit weak. Decision-making's not great. But on the basics of a goalkeeper, as a number 2, he's solid enough. And the third choice, someone who's on the loan list at 26, is Norwegian 26-year-old Sebastian Hansen. He's okay. He's solid enough. As 3 goalkeepers, I'm pretty happy with them. Then you've got the youth one as well. I don't think it's that bad. I'm just looking at the star ratings here. There's some great attackers at the club, but I think I know where the weaknesses are. The defence and midfield is rated woefully. And the defence is very old school. Let's have a look at them because that's where all the old boys basically are. We start with 34-year-old Moritz Jens. We're not at the end of June yet as well, so we need to keep an eye out for anyone out of contract. He's okay. Not got the agility. Maybe he's not the best. He's wanted as well. I'd be surprised if the director of football doesn't sell him because at 34, it's your last chance to get money. So we'll see how we go. He's not a bad player for 1 year, but probably wouldn't be my first choice. Who's out of contract here? I'm just having a look. Just that Swede there, and then a couple near the bottom as well, but doesn't appear to be anyone that's that well rated. Next up is Strahinja Arakovic, a 32-year-old Serbian centre-half. Only joined Sporting Lisbon last year from Celtic. Why on earth? They paid 10 million. He can't run. He's not strong. Oh, this is a bad sign. If Hugo Viana was there last summer and he paid 10 million for this, at 32 years of age. I'm sure a few years ago when he was there physically, he was a good player. But that is a disgusting decision and what a waste of money. Arakovic is not going to be in my team. Next, I say that, we've only got 3 more centre-halves to go. Next up is Seydou Sano, 28-year-old Senegalese international. I say international, he's not played for the senior team. He's alright. He would be a good squad player. Not the best in the air overall, despite being 6'5". Not the quickest or strongest again, but good in a tackle, good composure. I wouldn't be heartbroken if he was in the team, I'll be honest. The next one is Salvador, a 19-year-old Portuguese player. He is the type who, yes, he's on the loan list. He would probably be in the B team if we had a good enough defence. So I don't really want him to be starting regularly. But if we need him as an emergency backup, then fair enough. Next is Michael Vollesen, who I think is the best rated centre half. 25-year-old Danish international. He is solid, but good personality, two-footed, good in the air, but not the best on the ball. Determined character. But again, there's weaknesses. The composure, the passing, the heading. They're not great, are they? They're still not the perfect centre half here. Actually, is he better as a right back, maybe? Might be worth considering. Not that we've got many options at centre half. The next right back is a 34-year-old Mexican international who is 1.5-star ability. He's on 46 grand a week. He's run out of steam physically. Who was offering these contracts? Again, 2 years ago, paid £9 million for this man. Hugo, what are you doing, sunshine? Some terrible decision making. Matteo Gabbia is the other centre half. He's 33, but he is rated the best. Yeah, there's still plenty of room for him to start. Very good player, good concentration, just solid across the board and better on the ball as well. So definitely one that I think for next year we can make do with. Left back, we know this name very well. Milos Kerkez, currently at Bournemouth in real life, but here, been around for 5 years. Very good left back, flies into attacking areas. He's got pace, he's got quality going forwards. I like him. A regular starter. And if we do get centre backs in the summer window, allows us to play with either a left back or a wing back as needed. Can we say the same on the right hand side? Well, there's no point meeting this guy. He's about to leave and he's a bit over the hill, so I can understand that. He's out of contract in a week. The other right wing back who is here though is Abdurrahman Urisin. He is a 29-year-old Turkish international. Very similar to Kerkez on the left, but not quite as good. Can fly forward. His best attributes are attacking. He's left-footed, which is a bit weird. He's determined, he likes to get forward, and he's still better in the traditional role rather than an inverted, despite the fact he's better with his other foot. Runs with the ball down the left. Why on earth is he a right back? That doesn't make much sense at all. The final defender is Neil Volkan, who is a Swiss international at 26 years of age. He is a very solid backup to Kerkez. Do you know what? That is an area we've got strength. Kerkez with him as a backup is the first position I'm very happy with. I can see he's wanted as well, so I won't get too excited. Into midfield, and we begin with a player we know well from this year's game, Federico Redondo, a man I signed at Luton in the Twitch save right at the start of the year. He is a solid midfielder. He's not quite as good as he perhaps became in that save, but solid as a backup in a holding role or in central midfield. Just one of those solid squad players you've got to have. No problem with him. Next up is Vittorio Continella. He is a 30-year-old Cypriot international. He is more of an anchor man, a proper holding midfielder. Not the best on the ball, but protects a back four. I can see a benefit if you're winning 1-0 and you need to get a win. Him coming on perhaps is a sort of way to see that out. I like that idea. Can potentially see why they're playing 4-2-3-1 as well. The most experienced one is a name that used to be a proper wonder kid. Maybe FM18, 19, that sort of era. Daniel Braganca was a player that was often signed. He is a wonderful holding midfielder. Got 1 year left on his contract. Must be pretty close to club appearance records because he's been here the whole time. He's good on the ball. He's still got value in that playmaker role, but perhaps won't be able to play from the start in matches. One that will maybe come on for a few appearances. Though this season, he started every game for them, which does seem a little bit odd. So 3 holding midfielders that don't really stand out, but all have a little bit of value as squad players. Have we got anyone who can start in the matches? Because I can only see one more left. And that man is Denis Telachovski. He is a 26-year-old Portuguese player, a former under-21 international. Yep, I like him. Proper good player, big in the air, monstrous physically, determined, good positioning, good on the ball, but also defensive-minded. He is a proper anchor man and defensive midfielder. He will start, but I'm not confident any of the other 3 are good enough to start alongside him regularly. That's perhaps my concern. There is one coming back from loan though. Andres Rorado. He is 23 years of age. He's an Ecuadorian. Again, not the best on the ball. He's a bit more of the sort of ball-winning type. And he's not as good or as physically imposing as the others. So I can see why he was out on loan. And I perhaps don't see him starting regularly moving forwards. The other ones out are all attacking minded. So let's move in to the front 4 positions of the team. I can kind of see why they're playing with 2 holding midfielders because they're going to have to protect the defence. and there's no one who's really a natural centre mid. They're all holding mids and nothing else. If we move into the wide areas and attacking ones, though, the only other centre mid is Hilema, but he is out of contract in a week, and he's not very good, as you can see. The wingers, though, we start with, well, one out on loan who's not great. He won't be featuring much. We mentioned about the young right winger we'd like to promote. Maybe the reason he's not in there is because Pedro Mendes is 17. 2.5-star ability already, 4.5 potential. How good are you? Yes, very. Those two young right wingers, I would argue I would rotate them and try and make them my first choice over the season, because with a year of football, they both become exceptional. What I like most about him, as well as having all the core attributes, is he likes to get into the opposition area. He's 6 foot and his finishing's good as well. So I think he's the sort of player that could pop up with goals, and that's sort of been proven. He only started 5 games this year. He's come off the bench a few times. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists. He likes to contribute. I think he could be a star of the future, one I'm definitely going to work on. But there are a few very good attacking players here. There's some talents in this squad, and it is the area of the team that does seem to have ability. Abdul Fatawu is a name that needs no introduction, just gone to Leicester in real life after a year on loan there. He is a right winger, can play number 10 as well. We had him in the head coach as well, didn't we, at the Marseille stint? An elite winger, not the best in the air. And maybe the reason that Mendes hasn't started more, because cutting in from the right, he's a quality player. But he is wanted, and I wonder if at 29 he'll end up getting sold. The director of football will choose that, but often in these saves, when the Saudi clubs come calling with massive money, the players can't turn it down. So for Tawu, how long we'll have him, I don't know. But while he's here, he probably has to be first choice. As does this next man by the looks of it, because Geronimo Rivera is a 4-star ability left winger. He is a traditional winger as well. I like him. He's my type of player. Beat a man, get the cross in. Yep, I like it. Proper good left winger, traditional player. If we've got good strikers in the box, he will be class. Hugs the line, gets to the byline, and puts crosses in. I like you. I have just seen on that front, though, he's got a slight concern. He wants a new deal due to good form, and he's wanted by Saudi clubs. So whether or not that will get done, I don't know. He's already one of the highest earners. Next up, though, we've got a 3-star left winger at number 10 in Vasco Souza. He is 26 years of age. He has been here for 4 years, not an academy product. Very quick, probably useful off the bench, as you can see, but not quite as good as the ones that we've met already. So a squad player and nothing else. Paulo Otavio is our first Brazilian in the squad, but he's rated very well. 3.5-star ability at 24 years of age. Versatile as well, but naturally a number 10. Maybe not as good technically as I was expecting. Joey reminds me of, in terms of his attributes, is Ramirez. Maybe not quite as hard-working, the old Chelsea centre midfielder. He runs in behind. He's got decent enough passing, dribbling and that stuff. He's physically electric. He's good mentally. I can see his value because he plays as an attacking midfielder, which is the sort of role I like, but maybe just not quite good enough in front of goal. If his finishing was slightly better, he'd probably be very good at that. But either way, will be very useful to our squad. I've no doubt in that. After that, we've got a 22-year-old Portuguese attacking midfielder. Eddie Zacarias is good. Bit more of the sort of playmaker type. He's good on the ball, but he's sort of what I was talking about. Doesn't work as hard, but he gets in behind. He's good finishing and arrives late in the box, which I don't mind. He's also got a shot from distance, so potentially he could end up being a better of the two we've just met. A couple of others that are out of contract this year. Just check we're not missing out on much. Oliveira is average. Francisco, yeah, not good enough physically at all. But in between them two, we have got the best player at the club apparently. Gabriel Silva, 26-year-old striker. And he can also play number 10 or out wide. I mean, he's elite, isn't he? Do we play him as a number 10 running in behind or up front? I guess with John Hervenhoff, we might have a decision to make. Could we play 4-2-4? I mean, this is quite difficult because there is a plethora of world-class talent in attack and literally no quality in defence. I mean, he's scoring goals for fun, so we've probably got to play him. He's a really, really good footballer, and we'll try and shoehorn him into the team, ideally in his preferred position. He's not quite as good in the air, which is a worry for me, particularly with the wide players we've got. Next is Rafael Cardoso, a 24-year-old who is transfer listed. As a result of that, we'll only have a brief look. I quite like him, you know. He's not got the overall game, but just as an out-and-out striker, he's quick, he's composed, he finishes well, and he's good off the ball. I mean, I quite like him, but let's be honest, he's probably going to get moved on. And then into the final four, the centre forwards at the club. Let's get a couple of poorer ones out the way. Chico Zagallo is loan listed, is 1.5 star ability. He's never going to make it. Two of the others we've got Kasper Agard, who is a 20-year-old Danish player. He's an under-21 international. Again, a good finisher, but maybe not the best overall game. But I don't mind him. I think he's pretty decent. The next one is Mamadou Fernandez, who is 20 years of age, 5-star potential, but only 2.5 ability. Similar type of player, but not as good as the Dane we've just not met. Not as good as Silva, and not as good as Hervenhove, who we'll see in a minute. He could arguably do with a loan spell more than most, but an academy prospect with potential for the future. And then the final one, last but not least, a man who needs no introduction on this channel. In an alternate universe, he was a star for us at Bayern Munich, but instead we have got John Hervenhove here at Sporting Lisbon. He is a good striker, he loves to run in behind, and he's just slightly better at all those things as the advanced forward. He's great off the ball, he's really composed, great technique, electric quick, and a very good finisher. My problem is, and I'm sure the thing you're asking as well, how do we fit these all into a team? Because we've got Fatawa and Rivera, who are excellent wide men. We've got Otavio and Zacharias, who are good number 10s. We've got Silva and Hervenhove, who are excellent strikers, but both like to do the same role. And then we've only got holding midfielders who aren't great, and the defence is rubbish. It's not a balanced squad. It's a huge squad, and there's not a lot of quality in certain areas. I'm very worried about the centre-halves, and I feel I have to play two holding mids just to protect them. I think based on the best players, you would either play a 4-2-4 or a 4-2-3-1, but I'm not really sure defensively how we're going to cope with that. And if we play 4-2-3-1, I have to leave out either Hervenhove or Silva, who are two of the 4 best players at the football club. So what would you do tactically with this one? I'm intrigued to get your viewpoint on it. I kind of feel tempted to go for a 4-2-4 and something that would just be out there that we wouldn't do normally and see if that works out, because 4-2-3-1, it seems to be pretty settled, and I'm not sure that we've got the natural number 10 to do it. The other number 10s can play out wide as well, so it's not like they won't get any football if we do that. But the squad is definitely very saturated in those attacking positions, and defensively, it's still a little bit threadbare. So a big sum up for Hugo Viana. We will be setting him to do all of that stuff, the transfers, the staffing, the contracts. Hugo Viana will be handling that. And of course, the technical director will be sorting out all the other stuff too. There's going to be a very busy summer here at Sporting Lisbon. When does the season start? I think quite late, but we might have Europa Conference qualifying. So yeah, the start of August, we come in the 3rd round. We're actually going to have to get through 2 fixtures to get through to the group stages. But overall, a very exciting job for me. One of the big 3 in Portugal, but no longer. They have fallen away massively in recent seasons. Who were they 4 favourites behind? Braga as well were ahead of them in the pecking order. So we've got a big job on our hands if we want to get back into the top 3. Sporting Lisbon finished 6th this season. Europa Conference football it will be. But how are we going to fare at our new club? Can we stop the Benfica domination? Can we at least leapfrog Porto to be best of the rest? If you want to stay up to date and find out, and you did enjoy this introduction to Portuguese football, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Have any of you managed here before? Are we going to encounter the B team problem again? I'll be interested to know if we're going to see what we saw in Germany. If you want to stay up to date and find out if we do, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. We're back with a Southend save tomorrow in what has been an infuriating and bizarre season. You can follow that playlist up in the eye above, as well as the Twitch channel, the football podcast, and so much more. Please do check them all out. Thank you so much for your support. We're off to Portugal, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you next time to find out how we fare in our first game and how Hugo Viana has fared in a summer transfer window.